Africa, a continent that continues to face some of the world's greatest development challenges, and its research capacity is not yet sufficient to meet them. Public policy across the continent increasingly recognizes the role of science, technology, and innovation in addressing these challenges. But a lack of adequate funding and skills, weak public-private partnerships, and intellectual isolation has not helped the continent. While African governments are committed to increasing funding for science, due to economic challenges and competing needs, overall levels of funding are low. As a result, science councils are needed to gain political support in order to increase investment in research. The Tertiary Education Trust Fund has been chosen to play this crucial role as part of the Science Granting Council's initiative. These are the chronicles of the journey to institutionalize research and development in Nigeria. Hello, and welcome to this edition of TETFund, The Paradigm Shift. I am Stanley Bentu. One of the traits of a sovereign nation is that it should be able to handle and manage its own affairs by itself. But interestingly, even the biggest nations with the largest and most robust economies draw a huge benefit from international collaboration or initiatives. Take the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, for instance, an alliance of countries from Europe and North America. It provides a unique link between two continents, enabling them to consult and cooperate in the field of defense and security, and conduct multinational crisis management and operations together. What we learn from this is that when common challenges are experienced, collaboration works. Now, one of the challenges Nigeria has grappled with over the years is adequate funding for research and development, which can galvanize productivity and propel the nation's economy to global competitiveness. International collaboration can work here. One of those collaborative approaches to problem solving is the Science Granting Council's initiative, SGCI. Let's unpack the nuts and bolts of exactly what the SGCI is and how this initiative can transform the fortunes of research and development on the African continent, including Nigeria. The Science Granting Council's initiative in Sub-Saharan Africa is a 5-year initiative which aims to strengthen the capacities of science granting councils in Sub-Saharan Africa in order to support research and evidence-based policies that will contribute to economic and social development. The objectives of this initiative are to strengthen the ability of the councils to manage research, design and monitor research programs based on the use of robust science and technology innovation indicators, to support knowledge exchange with the private sector, and to establish partnerships between councils and other science system actors. The initiative is jointly funded by the United Kingdom's Department for International Development, Canada's International Development Research Centre, and South Africa's National Research Foundation. The SGCI, in partnership with the African Union Commission and New Partnership for Africa's Development, convenes annual forums that bring heads of councils and other science actors in Sub-Saharan Africa to meet annually to share evidence, experiences, and good practices, and to deliberate and develop interventions in strategic areas of interest. The forums are of strategic importance to the SGCI as they present a unique opportunity for the SGCI to support and strengthen the voices and views of participating councils, contribute to key SDI policy debates at regional and continental levels that go beyond its 4 key objectives, contribute to the implementation of the African Union Commission's Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa 2024, to contribute to new knowledge as a global public goods by commissioning state-of-the-art papers on key STI themes in order to facilitate sharing of lessons and good practices from across the world, to provide a platform for sharing information, experiences, and lessons amongst participating councils and with other STI system actors, and to showcase its work to country representatives of the SGCI's funders, heads of government missions of funding countries, and other interested parties. The SGCI currently collaborates with 15 sub-Saharan African countries. They are Botswana, Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, and Namibia. Others are Mozambique, Rwanda, Senegal, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. When seeking representation from Nigeria, the SGCI looked to TETFund, which today serves as Nigeria's representative within this initiative. Collaboration is a core part of the work of researchers, and there's great benefit to knowledge sharing. This benefit can be further complemented when research fund managers also collaborate. International collaboration takes many forms involving bilateral and multilateral relationships and collaborations within and across disciplines. Researchers collaborate in travel to all of the world's continents, but most frequently to Europe and North America. A study by the Royal Society, the British Academy, Royal Academy of Engineers, and the Academy of Medical Sciences in 2017 found that 88% of respondents reported that their shortest international collaboration lasted less than a year, while 63% had been involved in collaborations lasting more than 3 years. Imagine what the SGCI can do for research and development in Africa. Think homegrown solutions for unique problems. Now, the Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, recently made the case as he announced the cherry news of TETFund's involvement in the SGCI.
There is no doubt about it that what the Education Ministry is doing today is a complete new paradigm. Complete new paradigm. This is one moment that the education sector has decided to establish its rightful role as leaders of research. That is what universities are historically and traditionally known for. They are the leaders of research, and that you are effective in research if you invite the users of the outcome of research, which is what? The industry. Those that utilize the outcome of research. Of course, the other partners that you naturally work with are the research institutes. That is why they were invited into the RDSC. Check out the correlation between the funding of R&D by nations. Those that commit more funds on R&D are the most competitive nations. They are the strongest economies. They are the most vibrant nations. Nigeria cannot be different. That is why we are going that direction. Only recently, the Honorable Minister of Education, he was told, we briefed him, myself and the ES of NUC, about a visit that we did. We led the TETFund Centers of Excellence Directors to Egypt to go and review and share ideas about agricultural research institutes in Egypt and what we can learn, and indeed what they can also learn. And when we briefed the minister, in fact, he was so excited about it. The next thing, we just saw the minister put a phone call. And who did he call? The Minister of Agric. And he told him, I've just been briefed that the Ministry of Education visited Egypt recently. The ES of NUC and TETFund have just briefed me. And they are supposed to go back to Egypt with a team of Agric Research Institute leaders and directors general. I wish you could find time to listen to them, and I guess it may be meaningful if you are able to find time to lead them. I can confirm to you as I'm talking to you that the Minister of Agric invited us last week, and after briefing, the latest is that he has agreed to lead the team, and the Minister of Education said, if I am stronger, having recovered from my medical challenge recently, I promise that I will be there myself. It is my privilege to inform you that after a careful evaluation of the credibility and high standard of NRF, TETFund has recently been selected as the sole institution in Nigeria to house and manage the research grant of the International Science Granting Council. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in other words, our grant processing and evaluation process has formally been adjudged to have met international best practice standards. To me, this is a certificate of approval and rating. As we inaugurate, and let me say something here. It took the Science Granting Council nearly 6 months. Initially, they approached us and said they are interested in what we're doing, but they said we want to do some background check. It took between 4 to 5 months before they arrived at the selection of TETFund.
Now, there are critical questions that many would have as to exactly how and why TETFund was the perfect fit for the SGCI. What the paradigm shift learned is that it essentially boils down to the unique capacity of TETFund as a research fund manager and foremost tertiary education intervention agency. The technical assistant to the executive secretary of TETFund on research and development, Dr. Ayo Popola, answers some of these key questions. Let's listen.
So the Science Granting Council initiative on the continent is one of the signature body on the continent that has about 16 countries that are working together to bring in best practices in their grant management system and the grant research grant opportunities that they have in those countries. So, you know, part of the issue is that countries try as much as possible to look for partners internationally. And what we don't understand is that there's complexity in those partners dealing with all of us as a country because we don't have the same law. We don't have the same best practice. So what Science Granting Council is trying to do on the continent for years is to actually secure a long-term partnership with reputable funders across the world on behalf of the continent. So that those funders, when they are coming, all these granting council, they are speaking the same language, and that particular body can interface between the big funders and these countries that are already on the same page using the same system. So for years, or let me say TETFund is going to be 10 years now. What TETFund has been doing around research is to fund what you call the IBR, that is institutional-based research, about $4,000, $5,000 per research grant, and the NRF, which is the signature funding, research funding basket for tertiary institution system, public as of today in Nigeria. TETFund is housing and we are housing the biggest research fund, and that is cross-cutting in nature. It is not specific for a particular sector of the economy, because if you look at the arrangement of the NRF, it's even included the issue, it has included the issue of the social sciences. It's going to, I mean, you have the issue of a science, SETI, science, engineering, technology, and innovation. That's a section. You have the cross-cutting issues, and you have the HSS, that is human and social sciences. So that it is only TETFund that has that privilege and opportunity and mandate to have the biggest portfolio and manage it creditably, because the credibility of the granting council in a particular country allows them to either be admitted. So just early this year, you can see that we have in TETFund, the NRF funding was about 5 billion, about maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. So that particular funding was just like a funding window for research, 5 billion. I'm coming at something. I'm getting to something and you're going to really appreciate my analogy. So that particular 5 billion was there for like 3, 4 years. Then the funding for research through TETFund under the National Research Fund, that is NRF, was like just a single budget, a seed capital that they should be drawing on. And I mean, these are things that in other climes supposed to be annual. So the appetite was not there and the money was lingering there for maybe 3, 4 years until the advent of the Executive Secretary of TETFund of today, who came at the first time and look at that issue and say, no, we cannot continue this way. Permit me to say that part of the easiest way for you to measure the performance of any competitive economy in terms of R&D is the percentage of that R&D expenditure to the GDP. As of today, you're talking about a GDP of over 400 million US dollar. And we are talking then, or even as of today, of a research funding window, National Research Fund of Nigeria, that is less than 10 billion. What percentage of that is that? I'm talking about 10 billion naira, not even $10 billion. So that was the gap. So when the ES of TETFund of today, Professor Bogoro, came back in 2019, he made the case that that particular 5 billion should be an annual intervention as NRF, not just a seed capital that is there, that there was no appetite. And there was utilization, disbursement of that 5 billion. The following year, in 2020, he made a case for the increment to 7.5 billion. The Board of Trustees magnanimously considered his position and it was approved. And the President signed it off. Later, recommendation was made in 2021 budget that that particular amount should be increased to 10 billion, but I think finally it was 8.5 billion naira that was approved. Now what has changed as a paradigm there is that one, we've moved from a bulk amount that is lingering there without appetite for research, that a 5 billion will be somewhere for 5 years and is not being utilized, to a system, an innovative system that has actually created appetite for R&D in the country today, and then now we have an annual intervention line for our NRF. So if you look at it collectively now, you look at 5 billion plus 7.5 billion, that's 12.5 billion, plus another 8.5 billion. So you are talking about around 21 billion within 3 years versus 5 billion for how many years? So it's a journey. And what the Science Granting Council did was that they need to consider the portfolio management capacity and the institutional framework and the cloud that you have within an R&D ecosystem before you can be granted a position as the SGC of a country. So after due consideration of all the innovation fund, all the R&D fund, all the intervention fund in the space of granting of grants to research and development, TETFund was magnanimously picked as the SGC for Nigeria. You can only have one SGC in the country. And as of today, we are happy to report to the country that TETFund has led Nigeria into what we call the Science Granting Council Initiative. You will now ask the question, why is it that it's so difficult for Nigerian researchers to individually or institutionally, as a university or polytechnic, access many of these funds? Because you are not part of this complex arrangement. So this arrangement now that TETFund has led Nigeria into will open up a lot of opportunity to our institutions. Remember, TETFund is not a research outfit itself. We are fund manager. We are a fiduciary agency. We are an intervention agency, meaning that this benefit, we are bringing it back to Nigeria. What is more critical there? And I usually try as much as possible to speak on this for the country to really understand is that when you are talking about capital importation, not money laundering, which is an opposite anyway, part of the way other nations have actually facilitated quality and patient capital for development in their economy is through R&D. Because remember from the name is grant. Grant. It is not borrowing. So we could develop our own system and infrastructure and institution in such a way that we attract grants to this country. You go and look at other countries and look at the percentage of their R&D expenditure to their GDP. I can assure you that the global competitive economy, the knowledge economies of this world, they are between 3% and 6%. Let's assume we are at, as a country, we are just at 1%. We are going to be talking about how much? In excess of $4 billion in R&D expenditure. Convert that one to Naira.
In times of global crisis, international collaboration is incredibly important to not only secure the economy, but to ensure the health and security of the population. To develop a prototype solution to a market-ready product, academic institutions need to be connected with appropriate industry partners. TETFund has an excellent track record in achieving this across multidisciplinary research areas. Access to international platforms for Nigerian scientists and researchers to store, share, and analyze research data is important. By working together, they can improve the quality of their outcomes while sharing their expertise. And that is the paradigm shift. Join us again on the next edition of the program. Until then, thank you for stopping by. Good night.